Content warning. The previous video mostly used the edginess and the risqueness as fuel for comedy and absurdity, with the theories not being supposed to be taken seriously. It still was and is inappropriate for children, as it was pointed out by the tags of not safe for work and life. But at the end it shouldn't be disturbing to adults. But the following topic will be. It won't be a joke, but a true quote-unquote theory, substantiated with evidence which is sadly too obvious to deny. If you are understandably disturbed by the discussion of a very serious and dark topic, it is understandable if you do not watch it or just skip it. But at the same time, reflect what you are watching when you consume Soul Eater, and if there's no cognitive dissonance burning at your soul. But maybe you just were smart and didn't dig as far as I did, and as the poor soul that followed me to this. So let's start what would be layer 8, even if it should not be called that, because time for jokes should end here. Crona was sexually assaulted by Medusa. Before coming to the main topic, this may be as close as possible for this entry to be placed appropriately. This scene, when pointed out, seems obvious, but maybe it gets missed because it seems too tasteless to even consider, especially when an image that is closely associated with it may be additional proof for the next entry. But for this one, you can make up your own mind, read the chapter and decide if you think it is plausible. Of course, it is with the context of Okuma having a much more explicit implication of it happening in Five Us, with the character of Joker and his backstory. In the end, it could be showing the depravity and love of Medusa being even more despicable than thought possible. But there's nothing more to say. Maybe a discussion of appropriateness, of just scenes for use for drama. Yet I don't feel as if it's a worthy discussion for me to hold, especially considering the much more clear-cut matter of the next entry. Actually serious topic. Okubo's pedophilia. An uncomfortable topic, but one that was ignored long enough. I only hinted at it because it is probably not something most people want to be confronted in the middle of a light-hearted video. So putting it here, in its own part, might be the best. I will avoid explicit images, because I think spreading such material even in an educational segment might be contributing to the problem. But there's no point in trying to dodge the obvious anymore. So I'll just start listing out stuff. Why is Soul Eater not but overly cutesified girls touching each other while half naked, posing in skimpy bath suits, dressed in maid fetish get-ups, all while being explicitly 14 years old? Why are there jokes about Maka's panties while she's said to be 13, and later by the story described by another character as too young for him, giving an in-universe refutation of the old excuse of, oh, they're just wrong, so they actually look like adults. Especially in context of Maka being turned into some sex symbol, depicted often in loose clothes and showing more skin than even many characters are designed to look older and with more sexually mature physiology. The foot fetish entry might, even if it sounds absurd, become more relevant. If Okubo really does have one, as it seems plausible to be, why is then Maka so often depicted as bare feet? Is this, instead of just some innocent illustration choice, further depictions of sexualizing a character under naive viewers and censored noses? Why was Medusa depicted as a little girl? One can of course go with the excuse of, oh, the story said, but the story is just something that exists as the consequence of the authors and the team's decisions. So is it a coincidence that Medusa in her child form oscillated between overly childish behavior and weird teasing? One could say that I'm reading into too much, if not for characters like that being so common, it's its own trope. Especially with the excuse of them being much older than they look. With Okubo basically implicitly using it for Medusa. Oh, Medusa's actually way older, possessing the body, so it's okay if she gets into risque situations. And if this is all not enough, let's bring in his weird fixation on Kim. She's first introduced as just Ox loves interest, without much more to it than a gag about a hopeless nerd getting rejected. But at some point it seems to change. Kim is shown acting as a seductress to Ox when under the spell of Arachne's machine, which is weird and suspicious enough, but then there are many gags about Kim being found cute, especially by a dirty old man. Yet the strange thing is that if Kim is this weird obsession for Okubo, it is curious that at the same time she's just Maka without pigtails, especially once the design of Maka go into the direction of this over-exaggerated cuteness too, with the result of all this being that the character that is most sexualized in universe and out of universe do share the same design and seem to be the same thing in many ways. It just paints a really ugly picture, at least in my eyes. And there is the other curious thing. NOT revealed that Kim actually is a bit older than she looks, being 16 by the time of Solid or Not, and if the time skip happened, making her 18 in the main series at the end. It is also confusing as a detail to just add, unless if Okubo got either guilty or paranoid over creating a design. She was supposed to be 13, and yet also seemingly he found the most attractive. This also puts another seemingly innocent joke into question. NOT introduces Tsugumi as being an underclassman of Maka, yet older than her by a year. Was this just because Okubo wanted to have his cake and eat it too? Pick characters in a sexualized manner who act in a childish way, while choosing an age that may be a tad less controversial in his home region. And this is another aspect that I will comment about, but will admit I'm not an expert on. Japan's attitude to this crime seemed to be confusing and contradictory, with many citing them supposedly as a culture being very liberal in this regard. It may be true, but I still neither know if they have a significant moral distinction between depictions of 14 or 14-year-olds. Yet I also don't really care in this situation. If it's accepted, it only shows that the problem goes beyond Okubo and is a lot more widespread. I'm also highlighting the most extreme and ambiguous examples. Other teenage characters get often sexualized too, especially in the beginning chapters. But there it is less clear what the canon ages are, and they're depicted as looking more mature physically. Not something that should excuse creating underage characters to sexualize them in the first place, but something often used to obfuscate and slip out of this argument. And slightly something so widespread that it spread so far, it's hard to even describe. With even Americans and other countries having pornography categories called schoolgirl and cheerleaders being an old trope of it. This behavior even being mocked in a tongue-in-cheek way, but that's a discussion for some other video. Because I don't want to get confused in the weeds, but to just point out something that should be non-controversially agreed upon by common sense. Depicting 13-year-old kids in sexual situation is something that should be frowned upon, and the repeated instance of it happening is just proof this was not some accident or tasteless joke. Did that sound serious enough? If it did, what did it accomplish? Would me being angry and saying, oh, Buddha she'll die, have done more? Would it have been just a ritual of cleaning oneself before indulging in it? I see the fans. When they do rightly point it out, but don't they do the same in many ways? I won't go as crazy and say that finding some puppy love between child character cute is a sign of something much worse. Then most ants will go to prison. But then again, is it often just that? Just sentimentality? Why do fanfics have this negative reputation? Why is it, when I tried to sort by most views on AO3, one was presented with the lust of fetishes? Oh, they probably are with adult characters. Oh, they are aged up? Well, sometimes, but of course, not always. In the end, sounding academic seems to be just an excuse for mine to say, hey, I'm not weird for still enjoying it. But I sometimes wonder myself. I did mention that I didn't watch the NOT anime, because at least the manga can skip past the images. But in an animated production, what is left? Turning out the song, skipping past the buffering side? What excuse is there? Oh, this pedo-bait ship may be slightly different when animated? What am I even trying to say? I'm not sure. Because in the end, what is one supposed to say by the realization that this shit is everywhere? Always was. The thought that even innocent things may not have been that innocent. What will change? Will Okubo do an apology? Say, yeah, I won't fantasize about fucking minors anymore. Or say, oh, it's just a fantasy. We all have those weird ones. You might as well do. And will go, yeah, that's right, we are the deviant art generation. I mean, in part, maybe there is some truth. Who isn't today? But even if that was the case, what about the fact that not only were the voice actors of Maka and Patty underage, but that Okubo had contact with them? Would you really want your daughter to be in contact with people who say, well, I only like little girls when they're drawn, so you're safe with me? Many will call me sick for even come up with these scenarios, for even thinking there is something wrong. But how is not an industry the sick one for commodifying child sexuality to such a degree it has its own slang term derived from the most famous book about pedophilia? What does it say when Dragon Quest, biggest video game franchise in Japan, has to add a character that plays into those tropes? It isn't some niche bohemian thing. It is the culture, and soon a worldwide one, with people just posting the FBI memes, joking about it, haha, it's all a joke, isn't it? At the end, people want to ignore it, or think ranting about here, like I do, does release them of the guilt or suspicion, the universal one, about the world, of how deeply it all goes. Are those elite pedophile conspiracies so alluring? Because the people just wanna say, oh, it's just the evil reptilians, or the opposite, oh, just the hillbillies, or other races I dehumanize as lesser. And why am I even talking about this in an anime meme video? In an anime I only like because of marketing, because of the commodification of nostalgia, because of the world-planned economic algorithm deciding to move me in this way. All wars, famine, strife, betrayals by family and loved ones, all the freedoms and rights, all used up for the production of child porn. The last moral good becoming, well, I'm a porn addict with the weirdest fetishes, but I at least don't involve children, so I'm kinda normal. How much is it normalized to do meme videos about which Pokemon wants to fuck? Haha, jokes. Yes, this YouTuber I watched when I was 14 joked repeatedly about wanting to fuck Raymond from T-Titans, until I found his Tumblr. Oh, it wasn't a joke. But that's it, I'm the Puritan, or the incel, or the sex pervert. Maybe even all of them. Because they're all natural. I'm just angry at the world. Sakura showed in Fire Force. Don't you remember? What an epic rank against the Twitter mob, XD. Oh wait, you also used a 17-year-old for no reason? With the same childish pigtails, and the same bratty Kim personality? And oh, it's not like in Japan and many other countries where the percent of men of culture is so high, they also experience demographic collapse and decline. Now if they just watch even more digital circus fetish porn, then the baby boom will just start. As it does when Octopus sexualizes a girl who doesn't even have developed tits yet. Yeah, just as animals wanting to survive. Sure, be smart, right? Not just madness. This is all madness. In fact, even saying this, I have to self-censor myself. That people just accept it. Just joke about it. Make their epic rants about how evil the normies ruining anime are because they want it to be more than just lame sex jokes. Not even dignity. No, it's all about humiliation, getting off of it. You're a loser, and so I am. I am making this video after all. This clownish shit. Haha, clown word, remember, or did you forget? Was it the bad signal from the wrong perverts against the right perverts through the middle perverts? What does it matter? The discourse is all the same. At the end it just means about the same two jokes about sex is sex, because it isn't even pleasurable depravity. It's all just shame and mockery, like a sad clown. Because not even art, not even a sappy series about friendships, about bonds and the value of humans beyond their usefulness as literal weapons. Now it's all just epic beauty bait shipping and bada and cocks and balls, and that's okay, because you may not need to involve kids if they're the ones watching these colorful clippings. Not like moderators of site that may ban you for an edgy joke will be in chat on us all to overuse little mummy dummy speeches. All a joke. All the pain you have from this strife to have suggest something that is just beautiful for itself has to be ruined to stay forever. It never leaves, it never leaves. It's still just exhaling at you. Something's disappearing but never leaves. This machine just...
I fell apart and took my mind with me. I have been barely sustaining my pain, just marinating. I fell apart and took my mind with me. Just a ghost cloaked in lies with a broken spine. Fell apart and took my mind with me. Just an unrecognizable creature caught under an avalanche. Fell apart and took my mind with me. My presence unnerving. I'm a shadow always lurking, surrounded by death. Even the towel rack reminds me of the handles pallbearers grip tightly on the way out of church. What they used to lift you up into the back of that hearse. I see a woman tighten grip on her purse. Can't be offended. She doesn't know my intentions. She imagines the worst around here. The conditions severe around here. You tightrope between detachment and fear. Between the shattered fragments of existence that collapse and appear never changes. Just exacerbates depression deeper year after year. Pain weaving in. Pain weaving out heartworms. Sharp turns. Sparse words, scars, burns. I spend a long time dying, don't wake me up yet. At public executions, you'll never see me upset, force-fed myself with blow. But now I settle for sedatives. No longer in the streets, I belong in the crevices. Positively negative, popular. I've never been hard to be a person when you lack the mental requisites. Emotionally deficit, consumed with all the wretchedness. Not optimist or pessimist, my politics are an exodus, spouting countless fountains out while drowning in the brine. My life's the foulest algorithm science can't define. They trap you in these systems that are phallic in design, because they fuck you in the mind. Boy, they fuck you all the time. I fell apart and took my mind with me, being strung up at the ligaments with cultural derivatives, fell apart and took my mind with me, pronounced dead by a nemesis, a doubt without a benefit. I fell apart and took my mind with me, just a cluster of atoms thrust deep in a chasm. I feel apart, and now your mind is with me. Smoke in your eyes, the world's a joke in disguise.
Fucking plagiarism, guppy.
Little ugly man ripped off Crona's poem. What a nice way to break the tension, yeah. But there's more left to say. See what Diggin did. Come to the depths of the pride and absurdity. Laid in actual cosmic horror, actual nihilism. All triggered by looking at one series and correlating things that are better left for ignorance. But at this point, there is no point. So might as well go further, just for the false hope of it getting worse. But how can it be worse? What can be worse than the realization of total universal depravity, the rule of the pornocracy, the cabal of pedophiles being a worldwide direct democracy? More on that later. To be concluded in part 9. Hell, the evil eye.